This is the face of 21st century surveillance. Palantir is more than just another database. It's a digital panopticon, a surveillance supercomputer that fuses every part of your life. Your taxes, your health, your social media rants, even your real-time location. All of it updated live in one massive profile. This system turns everyone into a suspect. Data decides if you're safe or flags as a threat. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from it. Because the stakes here are your rights, your freedom, and your future. So stick around, because what you're about to hear will change how you see every algorithm, every database, and maybe even your own digital life. Let's dive in. In 2019, ICE used Palantir's real-time tracking to detain and deport 675 immigrants in a single day. These were families and lives just gone, erased by an algorithm's cold logic and the people who carried it out. Palantir's tools are the engine of the digital police state. To understand how we got here, let's rewind. In the 1930s, IBM's punch card systems let the Nazis catalog millions through their race, religion, and politics, turning census data into a machine of mass violence. Today, Palantir's data fusion engines bring that same logic to the age of big data. It's the same story, only now with exponentially more power. They have tax records, health data, social media, even live facial recognition, all fused into one master profile. So how exactly does it work? Well, Palantir's platforms, known as Gotham and Foundry, interesting names, are surveillance supercomputers. They gobble data from everywhere, including DHS, DMV, IRS, work records, biometrics, and social media. It all merges into one single source of truth, updated in real time. But Palantir's predictive analytics don't just stop at bad guys. They decide who gets a loan, who's flagged at the airport, and who ends up on the secret watch list. Trump's executive orders told Palantir to break down information silos between agencies, merging everything into a central nervous system of government control. If one agency has your data, they all do. This so-called master registry is about mapping every single life and labeling threats before they even exist. It's a modern version of McCarthyism, automated and powered by algorithms. These predictive tools flip innocent until proven guilty completely on its head. In Palantir's world, you're a suspect first. Algorithms sort and score you by your digital breadcrumbs. That's what you post, where you live, even who you're friends with. This is about policing everyone, not just criminals. And former Palantir insiders call it an existential threat. Because when one company can map out every single life in real time, even resistance itself becomes a target. So the next time you hear about Palantir's cutting-edge data analytics, remember, they're not just predicting your next move, they're building the architecture of authoritarian control, the digital spine of a new caste system, and the most egregious steps towards fascism in the modern age. So how does Palantir sell this massive registry? Here's the dirty secret behind all the talk of national security and fraud prevention. It's not actually about stopping crime. It's about sorting every single person into boxes of who's safe, who's a potential suspect, and who's expendable to the state. Palantir sells itself as a neutral information sharing platform, and they pitch it like fixing DMV lines or filling potholes in the streets. But if you actually look closer, it is anything but neutral. Every government agency, every corporate data partner, every risk indicator that you never agreed to share, it all flows into your permanent surveillance file. And it's not just sitting there, it's scored and analyzed. So when you submit a job application, that's part of a threat score now. If you go to the doctor, that's another puzzle piece in your risk profile. And the most twisted part is that the system creates the threats. In the name of predicting crime, Palantir's tools expand the definition of who is a threat until it covers everyone on the edges. So that means foreign students at a protest get flagged as agitators. Journalists digging into corruption are then labeled as suspicious. And if you miss a paperwork deadline, that's another red flag in your automated profile. The officials rolling this out know exactly what they're doing. This is the system working as intended. The more data that Palantir sucks up, the more it shapes reality itself. So if you want to target a political movement, all you have to do is label its members as threats and watch the harassment begin. If you want to control who can work, rent, or move freely, just feed that data to landlords, banks, or visa offices under the cover of background checks. Even US citizens can get caught in the dragnet. They can be flagged as suspicious for nothing more than showing up at a rally or sharing a spicy meme. So what happened to our First Amendment rights? Here's the brutal irony. Palantir claims to empower law enforcement, but it's really a quiet coup against public trust. When they say they're fixing fraud or fighting terror, they're distracting us from the real question. Who decides what's normal? Who decides what's dangerous? How do you fight back when your entire digital self has been weaponized? The truth is that these systems are built to keep you conforming and in line. They don't just watch you, they shape the rules you live by without any appeals or any transparency. And some people will try and claim that it's efficiency, but this is just algorithmic gatekeeping. And the scariest part is that it's not just happening in some dark back room, it's happening at every checkpoint where data rules. So that's schools, workplaces, health clinics, banks. Because once you can't tell the difference between safety and surveillance, the registry has already won. So why is Palantir's Power so different from anything we faced before? Palantir is a whole new operating system for control. It's far more than just surveillance. It automates, scales, and removes all accountability. Old regimes needed human spies to operate, but Palantir replaces them with algorithms that never sleep. It's an AI dragnet that tracks everything from your shopping habits, your social media, to your doctor visits. And unlike those dusty old records, this data updates live. And it's not just the speed, but it's how these tools move from watching to controlling. Predictive policing is about rewriting who's seen as safe and who's labeled as a risk without any human input required. It's not just guessing who might commit a crime. In New Orleans, Palantir's predictive models labeled entire neighborhoods as hot zones, creating a feedback loop, which meant they sent more cops there, they did more stops, and they got more data confirming what they already believed. If the algorithm says that you're dangerous, you are treated that way. This goes far beyond policing. Palantir's data seeps into housing, employment, and education decisions. If you miss a payment, that's a strike against you. If your kid misses too much school, that's another red flag. This is total life profiling from the state, and it is unacceptable. The courts cannot keep up. No historical regime has had this opportunity for live population management. German courts have banned these predictive tools because they target entire communities, but in the United States, there's no real protection even under the Fourth Amendment because the data's already out there. So what's their endgame? Well, it's a digital pass system where an algorithm decides if you're trustworthy enough to exist freely. When data decides your fate, there's no room to prove your humanity or yourself. There's no chance to show that you're actually innocent. And once these algorithms sort you into threat or asset, there's no need for laws or debate, just exclusion and silence. This is something completely new, a system that doesn't talk to you, it doesn't explain, and it doesn't need to tell you when it's turned you into an enemy. Because once you're in that system, and once the algorithm has flagged you as the enemy, you don't see the bars, but you just feel the world close in. Even the most powerful system has cracks, and that's where resistance starts. First, obfuscation. Privacy tools are not optional anymore, they are basic survival. Encrypt your messages and files. Apps like Signal keep your chats out of Palantir's data stew. Use full disk encryption on your computer, so if it's seized, all they'll see is gibberish. Next, blur your online trail. Every click feeds this beast, so VPNs and Tor routes can make your presence a little bit more unreadable. Browser tools like Privacy Badger and uBlock Origin shut down the endless drip of tracking scripts, but privacy alone is not enough. We need offense, and that means data poisoning. So back in the day, the Stasi wasted entire floors chasing false leads. We can do the same. We can use tools like ad nauseum to click every ad in the background, so that will turn our profile into chaos for Palantir's algorithms. We can do coordinated campaigns to flood training data with garbage, confusing what that single source of truth they rely on could actually be. And on the ground, activists can map out the surveillance cameras and license plate readers and expose that infrastructure of control. Just so you know, you should not use laser pointer or reflective clothes because they mess with facial recognition systems. You can also use license plate covers and anti-automated license plate reader sprays to prevent you from being tracked as you move around. But legal resistance matters too. Freedom of Information Act requests have already exposed Palantir's ICE contracts, forcing them to show how their data machine works. In Europe, GDPR requests let you see and challenge the data that defines you. Every single request drains Palantir's resources and slows their expansion. And don't forget the insiders. 13 Palantir alumni have already spoken out about abuses. These were insiders who saw how data-driven deportations work. These are whistleblowers who were proving that Palantir isn't neutral, but it really is a weapon against our communities. So if you're an insider, your voice can crack this system open, and you have so much power. Resistance is culture. In the 1970s, the Church Committee exposed COINTELPRO because activists and journalists worked together. Today, mutual aid groups and digital rights collectives are our modern defenses, where we swap tactics, share resources, and build our safety nets. Because encryption protects your messages, but solidarity protects your life. VPNs can hide your location, but community has your back when the algorithm puts that target onto you. So disruption is more than just you. It's about building a culture that values defiance. So here's the question. What kind of world do we want? One where an algorithm decides if you're an enemy, or one where everyone has the right to exist without fear? That's every encrypted message, every data garbage campaign, every refusal to be labeled chips away at this empire. We're not powerless. I say this all the time, but every single crack is another chance to reclaim our humanity from the algorithms trying to box us in. So grab those tools, find your crew, and start poking holes in Palantir's registry. Because in the end, it's not just about data, it's about who decides what it means to be human and whether we'll let them decide for us. We need to acknowledge that art, music, and fiction actually shine a light on the creeping surveillance state and remind us that this is about control. So support those who expose these systems, because their work is resistance. Education is another weapon. Digital rights and privacy should be taught alongside math and reading. We need to normalize the idea that refusing to hand over your entire life to algorithms is revolutionary and not suspicious. But our strongest defense is community. So trust that the neighbors have your back. Sanctuary cities protect the vulnerable, but we need that same mentality for our online lives. That means places that refuse to hand over data and treat our privacy as sacred. Because here's the real nightmare scenario endgame. Palantir's master registry becomes the digital spine of a fascist state, where algorithms decide who gets to live freely with due process and who gets disappeared without it. Where there's no more human oversight, it's just quiet classification, automated exclusion, and unaccountable control. Where resistance itself is labeled as a threat before it even begins. We've seen how the story ends. The Church Committee dragged COINTELPRO into the light because people demanded answers. That spirit lives on in every whistleblower and organizer who refuses to let an algorithm become judge, jury, and executioner. This is about whether we'll let algorithms write our lives, or if we'll take back that power ourselves. Will we let Palantir's data dragnet become the architecture of fascism? Or will we stand together, build real solidarity, and forge a future where our lives can't be reduced to risk scores and data trails? That choice is ours, because the stakes aren't just about data, they're about the soul of society itself. So let's make sure we're on the right side of history. Look, what I post on YouTube is the watered down version of this information. I can't say half of what I really want to without risking censorship or demonetization. If you want the full uncensored story with all the sources, real case stories, and counter surveillance tools, and a blueprint for resistance, I wrote a full ebook just for you. You get inside the Cyber Resistance Club, where I drop deep dive reports every single week. Hit the link below and join the movement to read the full thing.